Every day we are getting closer to a third world war. Every day we watch as global problems intensify. The economic crisis is worsening continually. The markets are plummeting with the price of petrol. The crisis in China, the situation in Greece. The outbreak of a conflict between the two Koreas is already visible on the horizon, owing to the growing tension between them. The North Korean regime of Kim Jong-un has launched a new missile, which has made the United States send a nuclear warship to South Korea. Added to this is the recent closure of an industrial complex shared with South Korea, heightening even further the tension. The US government is planning to install an anti-missile defense system in South Korea, which has not pleased China and Russia, negatively affecting further the diplomatic relations between them and the US. Syria. Despite the possible ceasefire agreed between the parties involved in peace negotiations, Saudi Arabia has proposed to the US that it send land troops, led by the US government, to Syria, which would be interpreted by Iran and Russia as an invasion of the country, which without doubt could raise the Syrian problem to greater heights. We must remember that Saudi Arabia is the enemy of Iran, with both countries in confrontation over the conflict in Yemen. In this context, if the Saudi country sends troops to Syria, it could produce clashes between their troops and those of Bashar al-Assad. And we must remember that not only is al-Assad a critical ally of Iran and Russia, but that in the ranks of the Syrian army are troops from Iran and even, according to rumors, Russia. We can too well imagine the conclusion of such an incursion. Venezuela is another possible place where sooner rather than later a new conflict will break out. Not just because of its incessant economic crisis, now also a food crisis, but also because its parliament is under the majority control of the opposition, which is going to cause numerous confrontations with the government of Nicolas Maduro. All of this will provoke a war of a domestic nature, and later international, once the US decides to enter the conflict under the auspices of defending the rights and liberties of the Venezuelan people. Russia and China could enter into such a conflict as well, given their close commercial relationship with Maduro's government and its petrol. We must not forget that Venezuela is the country with the highest number of petrol reserves in the world. All of these conflicts and tensions, together with other issues like the war in Ukraine, the refugee crisis in Europe, the world economic crisis, are putting the world's principal powers in conflict. Powers that, as we already know, operate as puppets of the economic and financial elite and its determination to provoke this new world war, to achieve its ultimate goals, just like they have with the previous two world wars.
And they engineered, on record in hindsight, World War I to get League of Nations.
That's right.
World War II, engineered, financed, enemies built up to try to get it. And then they're going to use World War III. I mean, that's their plan. That's their program. That's what they do.
That's right.
Our problem continues to be not knowing when this international genocide will occur, what day, and if it will be this year. But if there's something we should have clear, it is what we must do to try and avoid this catastrophe. And the best way to find that clarity is to take a look at the newspaper archives of our history and realize that what has always happened in these cases has been a revolution, an uprising. And I don't mean that this need involve following ancient tradition, but what other options remain? Passive protest? Another one of thousands that happen and that do not yield the results we need? Nobody likes to instigate violent action, but this isn't about what we like, rather what we must do to impede the Third World War and finish with this elite and its murderous criminal system. A revolution that involves taking over the parliaments and forcing our politicians to destroy all nuclear weapons. And if there is anyone that thinks it is impossible to do, they should look at the Indignados movement started in Europe in 2011, as well as Occupy Wall Street, which both spread throughout the world, becoming a protest on an international scale in October 2011 against the crisis and the existing system. This would represent the ultimate completion of the process begun in 2011, the aim of which is, or should be, what we describe here: a genuine revolution, an international coup on the part of the people with the help of state security bodies and armies if it comes to it, to prevent this Third World War. We can do it. We can stop this genocide. But of course we will not manage it if each one of us individually convinces ourselves that it cannot be done, that it is impossible, remaining inert and without even sharing this video. What is stopping us from carrying out this task? Inertia, pessimism, and fear. We must fight against that stance. We have to break the barriers inside ourselves and act, sharing this video, talking about this topic with our friends and acquaintances, arming ourselves with courage, and taking to the streets to spread the word, handing out flyers that you will find on our Facebook page. We remind ourselves of our history, of those people who have fought to achieve what we today are about to lose. If they could do it, why can't we? With all of the technologies available to us, putting us in contact with people all around the world. We must believe and we must act. This is an international emergency.